The faint, deliberate knock on my apartment door froze me, my heart slamming against my ribs. 3 distinct raps. Not tentative, not casual. Precise. My mind, still reeling from the photograph and the terrible realization it brought, raced through explanations. Ben. He always texted. A delivery, too late, too specific. Then the doorknob turned. Slowly, softly. My blood ran cold. I hadn't locked it. In my frantic search for answers, consumed by my father's notes, the simple act of turning a lock had slipped my mind. A sliver of darkness appeared as the door eased open, revealing a deeper shadow against the dimly lit hallway. Elias. He stepped inside, pushing the door shut with the same quiet deliberation as his knock. He wore a dark, unremarkable jacket, a simple baseball cap pulled low, shadowing his eyes. But there was no hiding the piercing intensity of his gaze as it found me, standing frozen by the chest where my father's past had just exploded into my present. My hand still clutched the faded photograph. Kira, he said, his voice a low, even hum that filled the sudden silence of my apartment. Not a question, but a statement, laced with a terrifying certainty. His eyes flickered to the picture in my hand, then back to mine. He didn't need to ask. He already knew. He took a slow step closer, then another, until he was just a few feet away. His presence wasn't aggressive, but it was absolute, overwhelming. You're a lot like your father, he continued, a faint, almost regretful smile touching his lips. Always seeing what others miss, always connecting the pieces. He spoke of the courtrooms, of seeing me there, of recognizing the familiar intensity in my gaze. He explained, not boastfully, but with a chilling pragmatism, how he'd known it was only a matter of time before I'd unravel his carefully constructed identities. He spoke of my father, too, of the bright, inquisitive detective he'd once known, the one who'd gotten too close to certain operations, certain necessary adjustments that needed to be made to balance the scales for certain clients. His words painted a picture of a vast, unseen network, not explicitly, but in allusions to people who value discretion and consequences for careless words. It was a chilling performance of veiled threats and cold logic. He wasn't violent, not outwardly. He didn't raise his voice or make a sudden move, but his control, his quiet certainty, was more terrifying than any rage. Your father, he said, his eyes meeting mine, unblinking. He understood the importance of discretion. Eventually, the implication hung heavy in the air, a phantom noose tightening around my throat. My father had been silenced, and now I was being given the same choice. He didn't need to elaborate on what eventually meant for my father. The unfinished notes, the ghost operative, the shifting identities, it all clicked into place. A horrifying mosaic of betrayal and systemic corruption that Elias was at the heart of. My father had stumbled upon this same truth, and it had cost him everything. Elias simply reiterated, with a calm finality, that some truths were best left buried. My knowledge, he implied, was a dangerous thing, but it could also be my shield. My silence, my absolute discretion, was my only guarantee of safety. He lingered for another moment, his gaze unwavering, ensuring his message had been fully received, fully understood. Then he turned. As quietly as he arrived, he departed. The soft click of the lock from the outside, the faint sound of his retreating footsteps, and then silence. A crushing, absolute silence. I stood there for what felt like hours, the photograph still clutched in my trembling hand. My apartment, once my sanctuary, now felt like a cage, its walls too thin, its windows too revealing. The encounter hadn't been violent, not physically. He hadn't touched me, but he had stripped away my safety, leaving me exposed to a truth too dangerous to carry, too dangerous to share. He had offered me a choice, silence or oblivion, and I understood, with a clarity that chilled me to the bone, that it wasn't really a choice at all. To speak, to try and expose him, would not only be futile against his shadowy network but would inevitably lead to my end, just as it had for my father. The system was too vast, too intricate, too deeply corrupted. He was right. No one would believe me. Everyone would attribute it to stress, to overwork, just like Ben had. I went through the motions of the next few days, then weeks. Courtrooms blurred. Dockets were just names on paper. My meticulous accuracy remained, a shield against the chaos within. Ben still offered concerned glances, asking if I was sleeping enough. I just nod, a tight smile on my face. How could I explain? How could I tell him that the man he dismissed as an overstressed hallucination was a ghost from my father's past, a threat in my present, and a shadow over my future? The photograph of Elias and my father went back into the box, buried deep under old letters and trinkets. The cryptic notes, too. I locked them away, not just physically but mentally. I had to. It was the only way to survive. But the truth was a heavy burden, a constant weight on my soul. My perception of the world had irrevocably shifted. Every time I saw a stranger with intensely observant eyes, every time a new witness took the stand, every time I heard a deliberate knock on a door, a flicker of ice would run down my spine. Elias was out there, a phantom pulling strings, weaving identities a man who was everyone and no one. And I was out here, a witness who saw too much, now bound by silence. My life, once defined by precision and facts, was now overshadowed by an unsettling, enduring fear. I was safe for now, but safety came at the cost of forever looking over my shoulder, forever carrying the knowledge that Elias knew my face, knew my name, and was always watching. The witness who wasn't, living in the shadow of the man who was everywhere. And I was forever marked by the chilling truth that some secrets are best left unexposed, even when they consume you from within.